This tire looks almost brand new, but it's already dying. So why do electric vehicles wear tires so much faster than gasoline cars? Most people blame the battery. Engineers don't, because that's only half the story. The real damage begins long before the battery becomes the problem. The tire has barely touched the road. Then maximum torque arrives. That instant twist creates enormous shear stress inside the tread. Then the battery finally joins the fight. Now every tire is carrying hundreds of extra kilograms before the car has even reached highway speed. Every time that overloaded rubber flexes, mechanical energy becomes heat. That heat slowly breaks down the rubber compound at the molecular level. Engineers reduce rolling resistance to improve driving range. But every engineering advantage demands another compromise. Electric vehicles don't wear tires faster because they're electric. They combine instantaneous torque, higher mechanical loads, and internal heat into one relentless engineering challenge. Which raises an even bigger question. Can engineers build a tire capable of defeating those forces? Imagine bolting a 40-kilogram electric motor directly inside your wheel. Sounds genius, right? Most people think putting the motor in the wheel solves everything. But wait, engineers discovered a hidden problem. The wheel is now carrying the motor's weight. That extra weight becomes unsprung mass. And unsprung mass hates bumps. More mass means more momentum. The heavier wheel can't follow the road as accurately. And every moment the tire leaves the road, grip disappears. This is why central motors delete the unsprung mass problem. The suspension can now react exactly as engineers intended. That's why elite performance cars rarely use heavy hub motors. Hub motors simplify the drivetrain but punish vehicle dynamics. Engineers aren't fighting power. They're fighting weight in the wrong place. And that's why the perfect electric motor becomes a problem when you bolt it to the wheel. Everyone thinks Nissan e-Power is just another hybrid. But that's completely wrong. That a normal hybrid shares the work. The petrol engine and the electric motor can both drive the wheels. But Nissan completely removed that connection. Its petrol engine never turns the wheels. Instead, the engine spins one thing: a generator. That electricity either charges the battery or flows directly to the electric motor, depending on what the driver needs. Here's the engineering trick. 100% of the driving torque comes from the electric motor, every single time. That's why e-Power feels so different. Electric motors deliver maximum torque from 0 RPM. So the moment you press the accelerator, the car responds instantly. Meanwhile, the petrol engine isn't reacting to your right foot. It's simply generating electricity at its most efficient speed. Then something clever happens when you slow down. The electric motor completely changes its job. Instead of wasting your momentum as heat, e-Power converts it back into electricity and stores it inside the battery. So why doesn't it need a charging cable? Because the engine becomes its own mobile power station, creating electricity wherever you drive. So if the engine never powers the wheels, and every kilometer is driven by an electric motor, is Nissan e-Power really a hybrid? Or is it an electric car carrying its own generator? Electric cars can turn braking into electricity. So why do they still carry giant brake discs? Most people think regenerative braking completely replaces traditional brakes. But wait, regenerative braking only works when the motor can generate electricity. The slower the motor spins, the less braking torque it can generate. Near zero speed, regeneration becomes too weak to stop the vehicle. Then engineers quietly switch to friction brakes before the car completely stops. There's another problem. Batteries can't absorb unlimited power. Hard braking can create far more energy than the battery can safely accept. Friction brakes delete excess kinetic energy no matter the battery condition. During emergency stops, maximum deceleration comes from tire grip, not energy recovery. Modern EVs blend regenerative and friction braking seamlessly on every stop. Regeneration improves efficiency. Friction brakes guarantee stopping power. One recycles energy. The other obeys the laws of thermodynamics when regeneration reaches its limits. Regenerative braking isn't designed to replace friction brakes. It's designed to help them. And that's why every electric vehicle still depends on a technology invented over a century ago. An electric motor can embarrass a V8 before the V8 even wakes up. So what does the electric motor know that pistons don't? Most people think acceleration comes from horsepower. But wait, torque is what actually launches the car. And this is where electric motors change the rules. A piston engine must first build RPM before reaching peak torque. The engine needs combustion cycles, airflow, and rotational speed before maximum force appears. An electric motor doesn't wait. Maximum torque exists from 0 RPM. The motor doesn't need explosions, airflow, or revs, just electromagnetic force. Electric motors delete turbo lag, throttle delay, and gear hunting. So if electric motors are better at torque, why haven't pistons disappeared? Because batteries are heavy, expensive, and slow to refill compared to fuel. Piston engines fight back with energy density and long-range endurance. One wins the torque battle. The other wins the energy storage battle. Electric motors didn't beat pistons with horsepower. They beat them with immediate force. And that's why the future's biggest advantage isn't more power. It's zero waiting.
What if your engine has a hidden death clock that only starts ticking at redline? More RPM means more power, but it also means every moving part must work exponentially harder. At 9,000 revolutions per minute, each valve opens and closes dozens of times every second. Valve springs may look simple, but they control chaos inside the cylinder head. As RPM climbs, inertia resists every direction change, loading the valve train harder and harder. Eventually, the spring can't keep up. The valve starts floating instead of following the cam. Just milliseconds of delay can destroy perfect valve timing. Now resonance enters the picture, the silent force most drivers never see. Certain frequencies amplify vibration until the spring oscillates uncontrollably. Instead of moving together, the coils move independently and lose control. The valve slams back into place, creating violent impact loads. Retainers and locks absorb repeated impacts until microscopic fatigue begins. Cracks form quietly, growing cycle after cycle beneath the surface. One fracture is enough to release the valve completely. Meanwhile, the piston never stops climbing. Metal meets metal, ending the engine in milliseconds. Professional engineers fight resonance before it ever appears. Dual springs and beehive designs disrupt harmful harmonics. Titanium retainers and lightweight valves reduce inertia dramatically. Cam profiles, spring rates, damping, and rev limits must work as one system. High RPM doesn't destroy engines. Uncontrolled vibration does. Master the physics, and speed becomes sustainable.
Have you ever wondered why Koenigsegg completely removed the camshaft? Because this shaft has controlled engines for more than a century. Most people think that's a good thing. But there's a hidden problem. The camshaft forces every valve to follow a fixed schedule, even when the engine doesn't actually need it. And this is where it gets interesting. Free valve gives every valve its own actuator. Now every valve can think for itself. At idle, the engine only uses the airflow it actually needs. At full power, every valve opens exactly when maximum airflow is available. No camshaft means no compromise, which improves efficiency, power, and throttle response. Not because the valves move faster, but because every valve can finally operate exactly when physics says it should. Have you ever wondered why hydrogen engines need completely different piston rings? Most people think it's because hydrogen burns differently, and they're partly right. But that's not actually the biggest problem. The real problem is size. Hydrogen is the smallest molecule engineers have to contain, and this is where it gets interesting. Every piston ring is designed to trap combustion pressure above the piston, but hydrogen can escape through gaps other gases struggle to reach. That creates something engineers call blow-by, and lost pressure means lost power. So engineers redesign the rings entirely, using tighter sealing geometries and specialized materials. Not because hydrogen makes less power, but because keeping the pressure inside the cylinder is one of the hardest engineering challenges hydrogen engines face.
This battery isn't dying for mileage. It's slowly cooking itself alive. So why do some Maverick hybrid batteries degrade much faster than expected? Every battery cell generates heat during charging and regenerative braking. Generating heat isn't dangerous. Trapping heat inside the pack is. compact packaging makes cooling far more difficult than most drivers realize. Center cells become hotter because surrounding cells block heat from escaping. Higher temperatures accelerate electrolyte aging inside every lithium-ion cell. Ironically, regenerative braking creates both efficiency and additional battery heating. Repeated charge cycles slowly increase resistance, trapping even more unwanted heat. More heat means faster degradation. Faster degradation creates even more heat. Engineers call this thermal aging, the silent enemy of every lithium-ion battery. The battery isn't suddenly failing. It's gradually losing chemistry with every hot cycle. Better thermal management often extends battery life more than larger battery capacity. Inside every hybrid battery, the real battle isn't electricity, it's temperature.